Now joining me on the French Liquor Resort guest line is Jason Hase. Let me give you some background on Jason. He's from Tucumcari, New Mexico. He attended the New Mexico Military Institute in Roswell, New Mexico. Yes, that Roswell. We'll talk about that in a minute. He earned his certification as a PGA professional from the PGA of America back in 1998. He's been the vice president of the Northern Texas PGA section since 2016. He also served as the president of the Northern Texas PGA West chapter in 2012 and 13. Jason has been recognized with several awards. He's won the Bill Straussberg Award, which is the top honor given by the Northern Texas PGA West Texas chapter. He won that award in 2005. 7, 8, and 2016. He was the chapter's Golf Professional of the Year in 2011, 12, and 13, and Teacher of the Year in 2009 and 2010. He was the Merchandiser of the Year for private clubs in the Northern Texas PGA West chapter in 2004 and 2006. He was the Manager of the Year in 1998 for the Four Star Golf Corporation while at Scott Park, and he won the Northern Texas PGA Western Championship in 2010. He helped start up and coach the golf program at Angelo State University, which is a Division II school, and he helped get that program to national prominence in only their second year of existence. He's been the director of golf at clubs like Fair Oaks Country Club, San Angelo Country Club, and last October he moved over to Buffalo Dunes up in Garden City, Kansas, and I'm honored to have Jason with me here tonight on Next on the Tee. Hey, Jason, thanks for coming on the show.
Chris, how are you this evening?
I'm fantastic, Jason. It's been a great show so far, and I'm glad you're a part of it. Thank you for joining me.
Well, third time is a charm.
Indeed. So, Jason, I got to ask you, New Mexico Military Institute, being in Roswell, New Mexico, ever see anything you couldn't explain in the sky while you were there?
Well, you know, when we would get an east or west wind, we would get some nice smells coming in from some of the dairies around town, but I never saw anything that you really couldn't explain away, I guess. That was a fun time playing golf there at New Mexico Military Institute, and I actually got to go back there this March. One of the roles that I've got to help out with since moving up to Garden City is I'm kind of a volunteer assistant coach for the Garden City Community College golf team. And our first tournament of the spring was there, and it was kind of fun going back and seeing the school and the golf course. And obviously there's some great Mexican food in Roswell, so we had plenty of that.
And Jason, when I was doing the research on you, I read that your father introduced you to the game of golf at the age of 3. What's the story behind getting started so young?
You know, my mom and dad were educators, and we moved around a lot, and it was just something that my dad kind of introduced me to the game. I just kind of fell in love with it. Kind of introduced me to the game in like you said, in Tucumcari. And then we kind of moved away to East Texas, and then kind of bounced around. And then my dad actually grew up in a small town called Deming, New Mexico, east of Las Cruces. And I think I was in 5th grade. And I actually, my first job was at the golf course. We would get paid $1.50 for picking the range, 5-gallon bucket of balls, and the golf pro there, his name is James Williams. He's still there, and I talk to him kind of on a regular basis every month or so, check in and stuff, and that's where I was really introduced to the game. Played my 8th grade and freshman year in high school there. Then we moved away to a town called Animas, New Mexico, which is down in the Boot Hill. And they're famous for, I was part of a football team that won 69 games in a row and several state championships in a row. Then we were there for a year, and then we moved to, I actually graduated from Socorro High School, Socorro, New Mexico. My dad was my high school principal, and from there ended up in Roswell, and then after Roswell ended up back in Deming, New Mexico as an assistant golf pro for James. So
So Jason, talk about, at what point did you decide, through the course of all the things that you've done, you know what, PGA professional teaching the game, that's the direction I really want to go in. What led you down that path to decide teaching was it for you?
Just being involved and watching people, trying to make the game of golf more enjoyable. You give somebody a golf lesson and they're really excited to tell you about how their next round was, and it's just something I've always enjoyed, from junior golf to high school, college, to just the everyday average player. You want to make the game more enjoyable because it is. I always like to say it's a character building sport. It can bring out the best in you, or it can bring out the worst in you in times, and we want to make the game as enjoyable as possible, and player development is, I think, the key.
And to that end, Jason, when you're talking about making the game more enjoyable, and you've done a lot of programs, done a lot of work with junior golfers, how do you make the game more enjoyable and more exciting for them and keep them involved in the game?
No, it's being creative, thinking outside the box a little bit. The other thing I think that doesn't happen a whole lot, it's starting to happen more and more, is you've got to get your juniors out on the golf course sooner. A lot of guys will have a junior clinic, 2 or 3 times during the summer, and those kids are on the range and hitting golf balls, and that's their only experience. We'll hit golf balls a couple days, and then we'll go out on the golf course and let them play, whether it be with a real golf ball, with our itty bitties, as I call them. We'll have them hit tennis balls. We use the snag golf equipment. Just make it enjoyable. And it's not about, we try to make it not about a score or anything at that age. We just want them to have fun. That kind of probably leads right into PGA Junior League Golf. That's been one of the greatest things that the PGA has done in the last 10 years.
And Jason, as you start having your junior players starting to play in tournaments, how do you help them deal with starting to play in front of crowds for the first time and handling tournament pressure for the first time?
We try to create some scenarios or some environments where we put a little pressure on the player, whether it be, we're going to hit this chip shot and you've got to get up and down from this position, and if you don't, you owe me 5 push-ups or you owe me 5 sit-ups. The other side of that equation is if they do, I tend to do a lot of push-ups and a lot of sit-ups from time to time. It's about making it fun and just keeping it fun. Tournament golf or playing golf in front of a crowd can be a little difficult, and we're always trying to just create a situation or environment where they have to have a little pressure on themselves.
Jason, I want to get some playing lessons for our listeners. And as a guy who played and taught in New Mexico and Western Texas and now in Kansas, I'm sure you've dealt with lots of windy conditions. You've probably been playing in it your whole life. For those of us who can't hit the Tiger Stinger. What's that?
I said it doesn't blow in Kansas at all. So
is that right?
There's no wind up here. For
those of us who can't hit the the low screamer, the Tiger Stinger, what should we do if we find ourselves out in a windy condition, whether it's a headwind or a crosswind? What can we do differently or better to make sure that we hit good golf shots and we're not hitting things that are ballooning up into the wind and we're losing distance?
Probably the easiest and simple thing is to take more golf club. Just because the player has hit a wedge once in their life 150 yards, they think that they can hit it 150 yards all the time. a lot of times you can take an 8-iron or 7-iron or 9-iron and choke up on the golf club a little bit, play a little more in the center of your stance, make a full golf swing, and that ball is going to come off a little bit lower. You can control it a little bit better. And then there's some other tricks. If you can get a little more weight on your left side, or have your spine a little more on top of the golf ball, you're obviously going to hit it with a little more descending blow, trap it a little bit more, get it to come out a little bit lower. So, the best thing is grab your local PGA professional and just say, hey, come watch me hit golf balls for 10, 15 minutes, and I'm trying to hit this shot. What do you think, and can you help me out? And I'm going to say 9 times out of 10, the golf pro is going to actually go out there and help, because that's what we want to do. It's what we enjoy doing.
Talk about from 100 yards in, right? Because typically from 100 yards in, we've got a sand wedge or some sort of wedge in our hand. But again, into the wind, whether it's a headwind or a crosswind, now we got a club that's got a lot of loft. Is there a different strategy we should be using from the shorter distances? Should we play more bump and run? Strategically, what should we be doing differently in a high wind situation when we've got a shorter shot with a higher lofted club?
The first thing, again, I would go back and say, is that club the correct one? I mean, are we going to try to hit a 70, 80, 90 yard low shot headwind, crosswind with a sand wedge, that's your most lofted club in the bag? It's going to launch it the highest. There's a lot of things. I like wedges and 9-irons. I mean, you can dial the face open on a 9-iron, add a little bit of loft, and still kind of control that trajectory. I'm of the opinion golf is, meant to be played on the ground. It's not meant to be played up in the air, even though those shots look good. If you've got a big crosswind, or you've got a big headwind, and you've got some open area in front of the green, the approach opens up. There's nothing wrong with taking a 7 or 8-iron, landing it 5, 6, 7 yards toward the green, and bouncing it up into the middle of the green.
And speaking of the green, when we're on the green, is there anything we should be doing differently with our putting stroke or the setup of the golf ball when we're in windy conditions?
I like to, obviously we're going to widen our stance a little bit. You're going to kind of have to hunker down. But I still, especially when the conditions get tough, whether it's wind, rain, one of the things that I like my students to focus on the most is the rhythm of their stroke. Most of the times, or at least in my experience, people are going to get kind of a really long backswing and kind of decelerate. And one of the things I kind of preach the opposite. I want a little bit shorter swing, and I want to see some more acceleration through the golf ball. But I want them to do that in a rhythmical manner, whether it's, you can use the analogy of a metronome. I actually have, there's a million apps out there. I've actually got one called Metro Timer that, we'll sit there and we can dial it up or down, so many beats per minute, and actually try to get them to, create a stroke that's, similar to that beat that they're hearing, and that takes care of a lot of it. I don't know if that kind of makes sense or not, but, the rhythm of the putting stroke, I think, is huge and doesn't get, talked about enough.
Jason, talk about the golf course you're at now, Buffalo Dunes.
So, I guess I was at San Angelo Country Club for 17 years. I took the job at Buffalo Dunes last October, and it's a municipal golf course. It's the number 2 municipal golf course in the state of Kansas. Our golf course superintendent, his name is Clay Payne. He came from Ballyneal in Colorado, and he's fantastic. the city of Garden City golf is definitely on their radar. We have a big AJGA event at the end of June called the Kansas Junior Open. We have the longest running Pro-Am in Kansas called the Southwest Kansas Pro-Am. And then probably the coolest thing is we have a ladies LPGA Symetra Tour event called the Garden City Charity Classic in September. And the last 3 or 4 winners of the Charity Classic have gone on to get their LPGA Tour card, and it's pretty cool to be have those events, kind of flagship events for us and for the city of Garden City, a town of about 40,000 people in southwest Kansas. It is a big golf area, big golf town.
Jason, before we let you go, talk about, do you have some things coming up here in the next month or two that the people in that area need to go online, check out, and, able to come out and take a look at Buffalo Dunes?
We've got, obviously, we've got our AJG event at the end of June, June 25th through the 29th. And it's definitely open to the public. We have some really, really solid players that come from around the country. We've got our city championship in July. There's a lot of programming that we're doing. Probably one of the things I'm most excited about is starting the 31st, this coming Thursday. It's going to be, we're calling it Junior Golf Day at Buffalo Dunes. It's going to be kind of reserved that morning for the kids. Green fee for anyone 21 and under is $7. And then if you're a junior and you want to take out a yearly membership, it's $100 for the year, which is unbelievable. And that's kind of an avenue that I wouldn't necessarily say has underperformed, but it's definitely something that we are going to grow, and Buffalo Dunes is definitely going to be a junior golf mecca, hopefully here in the next 2 or 3 years.
So Jason, let our listeners know, how can they stay up to date with all the great things that you're doing, whether it's online or it's over social media?
So you can go to our website, buffalodunes.org. And they can follow us, City of Garden City, on Twitter, our Facebook page, Buffalo Dunes, Twitter, Buffalo Dunes Facebook page. You can follow me on Instagram at Hase PGA, or you can follow me on Twitter at Hase Jason PGA. And there's definitely some avenues where we can get some information out. So it's going to be an exciting summer, at least up here. So.
Well, there you go. Jason, thank you so much for taking time out of your night and coming and being a part of the show. It was great having you here. I hope you'll come back and do it again sometime.
Absolutely, Chris. I appreciate it. Like I said, third time's a charm. Look forward to running into you in the near future. And again, it's always fun listening to you. The show is fantastic, and you're great for golf. And like David said earlier, thank you for everything that you do for the game and promoting the game and all that stuff. So I really, really appreciate your time and appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely. Thank you for that very much, Jason. Take care. All the best, you and your family. We'll catch up soon.
Sounds good. Thank you.
See you, Jason.